Good morning, everyone. It's Dr. Arlene Diamco, the Multidimensional MD. Every week, I like to come in here and talk about something that I meditated on and I feel like is important for everyone to hear. So, my mission is to help bring the intuitive aspects of medicine back to health in practical and tangible ways so that you can access deeper healing and experience more joy, love, and peace in your everyday lives. So, today, I would like to talk about the organ clock. And this is from traditional Chinese medicine. There's something called the organ clock or body clock that tells you the time of day that corresponds to each organ. And the 24-hour day is divided into 2-hour intervals. And so each organ has a 2-hour interval where it's at its peak. That doesn't mean, of course, it's not functioning any other time of day. But on the flip side, the opposite time of day, each organ energetically tends to be at its weakest. So you can think of it like the phases of the moon. The moon is always there, but there's something about the full moon energy that's very different than the new moon energy. It's not good or bad, it's just different. So, a few things to remember before we get started is that the organs in traditional Chinese medicine don't have the same exact meaning as the organs in Western medicine. Yes, there's a lot of overlap, especially with the physiological function of the organs. However, traditional Chinese medicine also has an energetic meaning for each organ. So as we go through this clock, remember that it may not correspond exactly to the way we talk about the organs in Western medicine. The second thing is that the organ clock is based on ancient wisdom rather than modern research. I'm sure there are some articles written about it, and there are many more articles, but they're not in English. But what Western medicine does recognize that the body has an internal clock. There are hormones like cortisol and melatonin that follow a diurnal variation. And we know that when we kind of mess with these natural rhythms, for example, if shift workers who work at night and it goes against like that natural day night rhythm, then it can affect your health. And number three is that the organ clock is a guideline. The times may not be exact. And the arbitrary change with daylight savings time, of course, can interfere with the organ clock. So you can kind of blur those timelines for you and see what feels good to you. So I mean, sometimes I have to stay up late at night, and when you have a baby, you're up at all odd hours, and that is still totally natural because you have to feed your baby. You have to love and hug your baby all through all hours of the day. So, do you follow the organ clock to a T? Do I follow the organ clock to a T? No. I have 4 kids. Our schedules are all over the place. However, when I'm feeling off balance and I'm not sure what to do, then I'll pause and listen, like I talked about before, and I'll tend to look at the organ clock for some guidance on how to support myself. And I'll do this for patients as well. So, in our lives, we need both some consistency combined with flexibility. For example, we need loving connections in our lives, but we can't force them. The family naturally gets together for meals when we can. But as my kids are getting older, we're not always able to sit together at the same time, or their activities are at different hours. So it's not better or worse, it's just the natural cycle of life with the consistency of love and the flexibility of mind to allow growth. There will also be a lot of individual variation given your constitution, the time of day you're born, your stage in life, and so forth. So, what I'd like to do is to break down some of the concepts, and we're basically going to journey through the organ clock and go through some main points. There are so many things to talk about here, so we're going to just take a big overview and take a look at the organ clock. So let me put it here. Let me try to go over to the side here so you can see it and me. So let's start in the morning around 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. This is the time of the large intestines. And ideally, you're up early enough and you get a little bit of movement in your day. Um, Maybe have a warm cup of tea or warm water to help to relax your bowels and open up your blood vessels and let that flow go to your large intestines. So, ideally, this is a time where you have a bowel movement. The first one of the day is letting go of all the detoxing that you did during the night. And if you are constipated, then you can think that maybe are there things that you're having trouble letting go of? Are there thoughts and emotions that you're tending to hold on to and thinking about over and over again? So, getting some stretching, some movement, a gentle walk can help to massage all your organs and help you in that process. You can also journal at this time, it's like soon as you wake up, that veil between the dream and wake life is more thin. So you have more access to your subconscious. So just stream of consciousness journaling, whatever comes out, is a way of helping you to let go of things and actually help you to process things that are maybe stuck in your subconscious. So think about doing that. Meditating early in the morning can also help you to set your intentions for the day, but then to let go and allow the day to unfold as it needs to. So, my usual intention for every morning is to align my will with that of the oneness, the divine. So then we go into still morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. This is the time of the stomach. Of course, it is a great time to have breakfast. It's also still a great time to go for a walk, massage those internal organs, and, you know, just take a note that the pericardium, that layer that wraps around the heart, energetically, it's at its weakest here. So we know just from research and in modern medicine that actually this is a time when many people tend to have heart attacks, or this is a time when, let me rephrase that heart attacks tend to occur. So um, this just happens to be the time that also my dad had crossed over, not from a heart attack, but something related to that weakness of in the pericardium. So, breakfast time, go for a light walk. You want to nourish your digestion. So, have something, you can have some apple cider vinegar and some warm water with half a lemon. You could have a little bit of miso soup. So, all of these things are really great to wake up your stomach and nourish your digestion. And then we move along to 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. period, which is the spleen and pancreas. So this whole 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. period is all digestive time. So the spleen helps to create the chi or energy for the body from the nourishing foods you've eaten. And if you have to give any talks or presentations, then this is a good time to do it because you tend to have more clear thinking. Again, these are total generalizations, but if you have to do some heavy work or mental activity, and then this is a good time. So to schedule things during that time. Then, as we go along around the circle to 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., this is the time of the heart. So your digestive enzymes have been primed and are ready for a meal. If you are eating a bigger meal, then this would be the ideal time of day to do it. Not too fatty or greasy, I mean, as always, because but especially now, the gallbladder is at its weakest. The gallbladder helps to digest fats and oils. But traditionally, a big meal in the middle of the day actually follows many cultures, like in the Mediterranean diet. And this is the heart too. So it is a time to connect and maybe eat with other people. So you get to connect with others. Then when we go along into the afternoon, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., this is the time of the small intestines. So you are absorbing your food at this time. And it's also a time to have a nice break. It's a siesta time or tea time. And you can take a break and meditate. And just have a little quiet time of reflection. So you are digesting all your food, helping that assimilate into your body, mind, and spirit. So, and it's really neat to see that. Oh, this is already. I know this is the traditional Chinese medicine organ clock, but these ideas and these circadian rhythms are really built into most cultures, and so you can see those elements spread out there with the siesta time and the tea time. Okay, so going onward to that 3 p.m., 5 p.m. time, this is for the bladder. So you might have a little bit boost of energy during this time. Some people, depending on how um, their their adrenals are doing, they actually may still feel kind of tired during this time. But if if you're doing okay, then this is actually a good time for studying, for heavier thinking. It's not necessarily a good time to be speaking a lot or giving presentations because the lungs are at their weakest energetically during this time. So when you're speaking, you use a lot of your lungs need to be working or more at their peak. This is also not a great time for exercise for the same reason. Your lung energy is not at its peak, it's at its weakest at this time. So if you try to exercise this time, it can just deplete it even further. It's this afternoon time is to just keep in mind drinking some water to stay hydrated. You want to be able to help support your bladder and your kidneys. And so then as we move on to the 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. time frame, this is kidneys and adrenals, which are responsible for so much hormones, stress response, sex drive, detoxing. So this is the ideal time to have a dinner. And dinner is meant to be much lighter than lunch. It's also a good time to do some light walking or stretching and and maybe massaging the feet, doing a self massage. If the kidneys need nourishing, then fears may arise, which can affect dinner conversation. So, to nourish the kidneys, then sip on water through the day and then make sure that urine stays nice, pale straw yellow. And to process those emotions, then to have those periods of exercise, of mindful meditation, of reflection. So to because it's related to like so many of the other organs, it's not just the kidneys in isolation. It's really supporting all the organs throughout the day so that they can work in an integrated way. So it's like as we go around the clock, it's like looking at the different instruments in your body, but really they need to be in tune and in rhythm with each other to sound harmonious and beautiful. You might be working with each different instrument of the orchestra, but they need to work all together. So then we move on to the 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. time frame of the pericardium. It is a wonderful time to start winding down. So again, that pericardium is that layer that wraps around the heart. And to do some start to get cozy, do some light reading to relax, but it's not a time to have like really heavy mental activity. The stomach energy is at its weakest then, so it's best to have dinner a little bit earlier so that you're not taxing these digestive organs that are really kind of winding down and not at their peak during for that time. And I know this is hard for my family to do because our dinner time tends to be late because of all the activities. But again, to use the clock as a guideline and there is some wiggle room in terms of exact time frames. So to see how it works for you, and to keep in mind that daylight savings times can interfere with the exact timing of the organ clock. Then we go on to the 9 p.m., 11 p.m. time frame, which is the triple burner. So this actually represents like all the organs combined. It is a time for resetting hormones and metabolism. That is why this is an excellent time to go to sleep. Your body needs rest to recuperate, to rejuvenate itself. It's a time for resetting your whole system. And so as we go into this night time frame, you're going to see that theme of just resting and resetting. So from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m., this is your gallbladder. We continue to rebuild the body. The gallbladder emotionally helps with decisions and courage. So if you're having trouble sleeping, going to sleep during this time, or you're waking again after you've fallen asleep, then you might also feel more hesitant with your decision making, and you might also have like recurring thought loops. So consider supporting your gallbladder. Take a spoonful of apple cider vinegar diluted in warm water each day to help soften that bile. Then when we move on to the liver time frame, 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. is related to the gallbladder. We are continuing to detox here with that liver detoxing. And if you're waking up here, then the liver might be overtaxed. So consider if you're eating too many processed foods or drinking too much alcohol. And then also consider what emotions you're having. So if the liver tends to represent those frustration and unprocessed anger. So those are maybe things that to tend to or address in a very gentle, loving way. And to do that in multiple ways. So looking at your diet, looking at your emotions, journaling, getting some movement to encourage flow throughout the body. Not in the middle of the night, but just to kind of think about through your day as well. So then we move on to deep sleep, 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. This is the time period of the lungs, and the time when your lungs tend to detox. It's a dreaming time. If you wake up here, you might have some unprocessed grief, that the lungs are related to like grief and sadness, other organs as well. But this is also really tied into that lung energy. And some people say to exercise during this time frame, but I can tell you that I don't think I've ever woken up at 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. to exercise. So it is a time period of the lungs, but you don't have to get up and exercise. So I hope that helps you in some way. This was just like a nice, easy walk through the organ clock. And it gives you ideas of when to to rest, to how to eat, how to structure your mental activity. So if you are feeling imbalanced, and periodically I will feel the need to recenter, to ground and recenter myself. Maybe I feel like more heaviness. There's so much that we deal with in our regular lives, and so it's natural to have like those ups and downs in living. And we have all of these tools and ways that we can access guidance. And so the traditional Chinese medicine organ clock is one way to access guidance. So if you have any questions about this, anything in general, then I would love to help you in some way. You can come visit me in my office, or you can always leave a comment below and let me know what you think about this, if it's helpful for you, if you have questions about it, and I would love to get back to you. You can also follow me on Instagram at All Worlds Health, on Facebook at All Worlds Health and Pediatrics. You can sign up for my e-love letters. I send them out once a week on Wednesdays. And I will see you next time on another episode of the Multidimensional MD, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So lots of love to all of you. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your week, and I'll see you next time.